Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's class of DDP. Today, we're going to do another Fusion 360 drawing, but before we do, let's review what we learned in our last Fusion 360 drawing, which should have been the Pac-Man assignment. In that assignment, you were introduced to the move copy, the trim, sketch scale, offset, all of the and rectangular patterning functions, in addition to being introduced to construction lines. In this new assignment, you're going to be using all of these things, but you're going to be introduced to 3 more functions. This one is going to be the spline tool, the mirror function, and circular patterning. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to be drawing. And this here, we're going to be drawing our lovely flower, and I'm going to break down how this is done. So we're going to start with the center, which is a circle within a circle. This is going to be utilized, we're going to be utilizing the offset function for that. These petals here are an example of circular patterning, and I want you to notice that there's 2 types of petals. These types of organic shapes can be drawn with the spline tool, and they make more curved and organic looking lines. These columns of equally spaced circles are an example of rectangular patterning. And throughout this entire process and to create the whole bottom part, we're going to be utilizing the mirror function. So let's get started with our drawing by, I'm going to share my Fusion 360. And here we go. We're going to start our drawing. But first, let me take a look. All right. So we're going to start by choosing the front face of our drawing, going to create and create sketch. I'm going to click on this. All right. And then we're going to start our drawing by hitting C. And instead of going to the create and selecting circle, I'm using keyboard shortcuts. So that's C. And I'm going to go to the middle, click and drag. And I like that right there as the center point. We now need a circle within the circle, and to do that, we're going to utilize our offset, but I'm going to be doing the keyboard function, which is O. And when you do, you get the sketch curves, which are selected here, and then the offset position, but you don't need to worry about that because this blue arrow comes up, and when you see the line of dotted lines, you're ready to click and drag, and I like that. I'm going to set it, and now we have the center of our flower. In order to draw the petal, I'm going to use a construction line, and this is going to determine both the middle and the length of our, let's choose line, of our petal. All right, and the reason why we're using construction lines is because it's going to help us with a function, but we don't want it to be part of the actual design. So we're eventually going to get rid of it. So to draw the first side of our petal, we're going to click off our construction lines because this is going to be a line that we want to keep. And I'm going to draw with a 3-point arc. If you want to create a different kind of petal that's little more organic, I suggest using the spline tool here, which we'll get into in a later part of this lesson. So for the arc, I'm going to click on the bottom of my construction line, the top, and then the third point is going to determine the width of the arc. I like that here, so I'm going to set that. We're then going to go to our mirror function. And once we click on that, this field opens up to select the object that we want to mirror and the mirror line. The mirror line is the reason why we use a construction line, okay? So once we hit that mirror line or click on it, the other side that we want to mirror appears. We hit OK, and we're going to get rid of it by utilizing our trim tool, getting rid of that. And now we're going to fill in the rest of the flower with petals. But before we do, there's a couple things that I want you to get rid of on your sketch palette. I want you to click off Show Points and click off Show Constraints. And this will make your drawing cleaner, and it won't have the constraint icons all over them or dots everywhere. So once that's done, we're going to utilize our circular patterning right here, and this field opens up. So we're going to first select the sides or the lines of what we want to pattern, and then the center point, because everything that is radial or circular is going to revolve around a center point, which is right here. And when we do, 2 other petals appear. But we want there to be a full range of petals, so we're going to put in 10. That's good if you want to overlap, and something you can do when they overlap is to take the trim tool and get rid of one of these lines, and that'll make it appear as if it's overlapping, which looks aesthetically pleasing. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to have my petals side by side, and that's 8, and that's that right there. So the way that this tutorial is going to work is I'm going to do the first video showing you the circular patterning and the first part. The second video is going to focus on the rectangular patterning and how to do it. And because it's a certain way, we don't want to draw on top of this drawing, so we're going to do it separately, and I'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to make a second video for the rectangular patterning, and then a third video to show you how to draw the rest of the drawing. So that concludes our first part of this tutorial. I'll see you on the second one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 2 of the CAD Fusion 360 flower tutorial. So in the first one, we built the flower part itself, the petals and the center using a combination of mirroring, the 3-point arc, and the circular patterning function. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be concentrating on the rectangular patterning that is on top of the flower itself. So to do that, I'm going to start with a rectangle that hugs the sides of our rectangle. I'm just going to set that, and then I can then move, sorry, let me undo that. I can then move the sides in as I wish, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, okay, I'm then gonna move this away. I'm gonna utilize the move copy tool, select all the sides that I want, and then just move that over here. All right, I'm gonna hit okay. And here we are. But now what I want to do actually is I want this pattern to be contained within the flower itself. So I'm just gonna move this up a little bit to here, and I'm gonna be working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 down. So I'm going to start this whole thing by splitting my design in half with the construction line. I'm going to highlight construction over here in the sketch palette. Click off that, hit construction, and then I'm going to hit L for line, and right in the center here, I'm going to make a construction line. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to build my pattern. The pattern that we're looking at is, okay, this should be good. I'm going to get the whole thing, is a row of 7, a row of 10, 4 rows of 16, a row of 10, and a row of 7. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do that. All right, so we're going to start with our circle tool. I'm going to hit C for circle. And I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to create just a small, oops, I made that a construction line. I'm going to click off that and just get rid of that. And I'm going to make another circle. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm then going to hit OK. Highlight that, and I'm going to move that to a more predictable place, which is right here in the corner. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, create copy, and I'm going to move a second one over here. This is going to be our row of 10. Hit OK. We're now going to select that, hit M, and I'm going to create a copy. I'm going to move that up here. This is going to be our first row of 16. All right. 1, 2, okay. All right, and we probably will move the whole design over a little bit. So that's looking good to me. So now let's go to our rectangular patterning. I'm going to select that. For the direction, I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to select the construction line. This will orientate our circles in the right direction. This first row is 7. And now for the distance in between, I'm going to start with 2. See how that looks. I think we can do a little better than that. I'm going to start with 3. Okay, so 3 looks good to me, and I'm going to start with that as my starting point. We're going to repeat this process, go back to the rectangular patterning. Okay, our direction, hit the construction line, change this to 10. And then I'm going to do 4 for my direction. That looks pretty good to me. All right, but I'm going to center it just a little more. So I'm going to select the whole row and just move it up a little more. Okay, that looks a little more centered. Great. So now I'm going to select this. We're going to go back to our rectangular patterning. Direction, click on the construction line, okay, and this one's going to be 16, and I'm going to do 5 for that. Good. All right, so that looks good to me. I'm actually going to move this row as well. I'm going to move it just a little bit over so things look a little more evenly spaced. There we go. That looks a little more less crowded. I actually would like the distance, the space in between to be more. So I'm gonna just go and do that again. And I'm gonna try 6 this time. Okay, that's too much. 5.5. This could work. Okay, this is gonna work, but I'm just gonna move this row up so it's a little more centered. There we go, and a little bit over. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we need 4 of these rows of 16. So I'm going to select this whole thing, whole row. I'm going to go to my M tool, create copy, and then I'm just gonna move this row. Oops, but I didn't select the right thing. I selected the center of the circle and not the outside. So let's try that again. Okay, that looks like everything is selected. Perfect. Okay, so these are our 2 rows, but I'm gonna move this entire design so it's closer. Or actually, what I'll do is, yeah, I'll move this entire design over so it's closer. So it's about here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this entire pattern here. Okay, we're gonna go to our mirror tool, and it's gonna ask for our mirror line, which is here, and that's going to appear. So once we have that, we're going to get rid of this here. I'm still gonna, oops, sorry, I should have done that. Okay, all right, great. So once I'm gonna move this whole thing over so it doesn't look like there's a big gap there. Okay, that looks really good to me. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna zoom out. Okay, and I'm going to grab this whole design. Oops, I didn't get everything. Let's try that again. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of this box here. Because I no longer need it. Okay, I'm going to select this and just move everything over right on top. Okay, and that fits pretty well. All right. Perfect. So down here, what I suggest, we're going to zoom in. And what I suggest is any of these that are hanging off here is probably going to get in the way of our next design. So I'm going to ask that if there's any hanging off, that you just sort of get rid of them with the trim tool. Okay. All right, and I'm going to go for this here and the outside of this here. Okay, so that is how you do your both circular and rectangular patterning together. Remember to click off your points and off your constraints here so it's a nice clean drawing. In the last video, I'm going to show you how to draw the body of the vase and the table. So I will see you there at the next video. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our Fusion 360 flower tutorial. In this video, we're going to complete our lesson by drawing the vase and the table. So let's go back to our Fusion 360 drawing, which is here. And here we did the circular patterning and the rectangular patterning. So let's finish everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a construction line to determine the center and length of our vase. I already have it here. So it's right there, and it's along the center line. I'm going to click off that, and I'm going to go to my spline tool, and I'm going to start somewhere around where the drawing is, and I'm going to now draw just one side of my vase. Okay, that looks good to me. All right, and I'm now going to use my mirror tool, mirror function. I'm going to click that, and we're going to use that construction line as our mirror point. Hold on, let's just make sure everything is selected. There we go. All right, and there we go. So we have our vase here. We are, of course, going to be wanting to get rid of this construction line. We don't need it anymore, and we're going to use our line to decorate our vase. There are two lines in the design. You can use the arc to make them more rounded if you want to make them more realistic looking, but I'm just going to go for the sake of simplicity to just this design here. All right, so it's that's the way I want it. So now we're going to move on to the table, and to do that, I am going to do another construction line. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave the construction line off. I'm going to start with a rectangle. I'm going to start in the center here and drag out where I want one side of my table to be. So I'm going to go about here. This looks right to me. All right, great. And we're going to use the spline tool to draw into it. And what we should be doing is drawing some representation of a face. I will do the best I can. Oh no, I'm going to start over. Okay, we're going to start way over. All right, so we're going to go here. Okay. Okay, back to our spline tool. Okay, and honestly, I could have done a worse job. All right, so there is our shape cut out. We're then going to go to the trim job, and we're going to get rid of this line, okay, and this line, because there's going to be some hanging over. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to utilize our mirror function. We're going to select all of the objects that we want to mirror. We don't want to mirror this here, but we're going to use that as our mirror line. Okay, and there we go. And we're going to get rid of that metal line with our trim. And there you have it. This is our completed flower drawing. I'm going to, just for formality's sake, put a frame around it. Okay, and there you have it. those are all the different components to creating this drawing, and I hope this helps. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know on the Google Classroom stream. Bye-bye.